Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Blue Screen Brothers. Today, we are not in Microsoft Building 88 nor 122. Today, we are in Microsoft Building 3. That marks a huge shift, and maybe even because we are going to talk about something else than hardware. We're going to talk about cloud hardware. And together with me, I got Ola from Sweden. He's also an MVP. But also we got Femi here, who is a full-time employee at Microsoft. Hello.
Hi.
Hey. So Femi, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do here at Microsoft, and what is this thing called cloud virtualization?
Sure. Hi, my name is Femi Adebayo. I'm on the platform and COGS team for Windows 365. So essentially, what my job is to ensure that I focus on two areas, mainly the GPU accelerated business and also on the capacity and forecasting side. And what that means is that we ensure that our customers can deploy their cloud PC into any region supported by Azure, and ensuring that they do that with the seamless experience of, including provisioning and ensuring that, they can select whatever regions they want to deploy to, and we support those regions per Azure guidelines and, per Azure data centers.
And Ola, we've spoken before in different podcasts, but tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Ola Ström. Like you said, I'm based out of Sweden. Also an MVP within Windows 365. Been that for the last 3 years. In my day job, I work as a consultant for a large Swedish Microsoft partner, focusing on device management and Windows 365, helping customers out on their cloud journey, basically.
So just like Batman.
Yeah,
consultant on daytime and superhero on night. All right.
Exactly.
All right. So we got some questions when it comes to Windows 365. First of all, what is it? What is Windows 365, and what is the typical blocker you see when people are front?
Yeah. So what is it? It's Windows in the cloud, basically. So virtualization made a little bit more simpler, and we can buy virtualization as a SaaS service instead of having to build it ourselves. So kind of like Microsoft 365, but for Windows. It's usually how I position it when explaining to customers. The blocker that my customers comes into sometimes around this is probably like thinking it's more complicated than it actually is getting started. That there is a big roadblock. There's something. Virtualization has been kind of cumbersome for many companies back in the days, but now it's getting easier, and to simplify, you buy a license, then you're good to go if you have Intune in place, and you build it from there. And in my mind, it's simplifying things a lot and making it easier to get going, get started with utilizing Windows in a new way. Not maybe a new way, but in a different way that many companies done in the past, where virtualization has been for really specific use cases because it was expensive on-prem, and you needed those really nerdy VDI people to run it. Now you can kind of shift that a little bit to your Intune admins, even though they need to have some knowledge around it. It's still simpler to get started, at least getting over that first speed bump.
I think I'm using Microsoft 365, or Windows 365. You mentioned Microsoft 365, but I think I'm using Windows 365 the wrong way around, because I use my corporate laptop, and then I shift to Windows 365 with Windows 365 switch to my personal life. Do you see a lot of people flipping so that they only have to use one device to combine multiple either companies, multiple users, user profiles, but they're only stuck with one device?
Being a consultant, you're describing the perfect world, where I only have my corporate device issued from my company, and my customer gives me a Windows 365 device that I connect to working in their environment, so I don't have to carry 4 laptops in my backpack and having to get a big backpack or a rolling bag or something like that.
And that sounds like a really good, just user friendliness, but also a sustainability problem. But what do you see, Femi, as the biggest blockers for Windows 365 adoption?
I think it's just knowledge, right? So there are a lot of folks now they don't know what Windows 365 is. So I think what we've done, the team, all the way to LT, what we've done is that we've been able to kind of, simplify the process, right? So basically, what we did was that we just took the OS, your client OS, moved to the cloud, and we made the experience much better where you can stream. So think of it like you're streaming your Windows experience from the cloud. And for most of our customers, the blocker has just been, they've been traditionally used to the VDI world where they have to set up the infrastructure themselves. What we've done with Windows 365, we've made it very simple. It's like a push button, right? You go to, if you're an internet admin or you're familiar with Intune, you go there able to kind of easily provision your cloud PC. The experience is seamless where you go, you select what region, you select what specific Windows 365. If you want to use custom image, you want to use your gallery image, you set that up. Are you able to just provision it within an hour? Your cloud PC is provisioned for you. So I think most of our customers is what they use is that because they've had people to kind of handhold them and they're kind of used to kind of the bigger infrastructure in the past. But Windows 365, once we kind of explain it, they're delighted, like, oh, I didn't know this was this simple. I didn't know, I had minimal infrastructure costs to do, because we kind of manage that experience and we kind of manage the whole seamless experience for them to be able to deploy cloud PC. So that's what we've kind of seen most customers like, I don't want to get involved into kind of the operational level. I just want to be able to kind of, provision my cloud PC and have it work, right? And I don't want to worry about kind of maintenance and manage all those things that handled by IT admin. And we made those things very simple, the same way you have it on your traditional client device.
I like how you kind of make a point of that. You provision Windows 365 because you don't deploy Windows 365. And that's probably one of the things that differentiates. So I come from the Windows and devices side of the world, but you come from the Windows not devices. And there's a big shift because you typically deploy or enroll devices while you provision cloud PCs. And I think that's probably a very differentiator word when it comes to enrolling people into Windows 365, because provisioning is quite important. And how long does it take typically for, let's say that you are a company, you're enrolling an external partner, vendor, customer, you would like to give them a provision Windows 365. Does that take a long time?
No, not at all. For most of our customers that come, they purchase a license. Most of them have E5 licenses, and which we kind of support it into. So they've, it's really as much as just going through the whole, like I said, the whole provisioning lifecycle, which is very, very, very easy to go through. And once that is set up, the license is set up, and the provisioning is set up, it takes like roughly max an hour to kind of set up, based on certain factors of kind of their configuration. So sometimes they have like a gallery image, or they have a custom image, those things. But quite very simple. Within an hour, you kind of get your cloud PC running, and you can kind of start using your cloud PC. So we've made the experience so seamless, and we've made like I said, the provisioning experience so easy, where if everything is checked along your provisioning, your policy, your configuration, those things are easy. Within an hour, you kind of get your cloud PC going and up and running.
It's kind of fun because do you spend less than an hour deploying a PC?
Usually not. There's usually some headache involved in it, and something that
Shipping,
exactly.
yeah.
And having the user actually starting it up on time, and but like you said, the logistics chain of things, getting the device from a warehouse out to the end user who lives on the other side of the country. That's not an hour. That's a few days, usually.
I read this book called Computer Power and Human Reason. It was written in the 60s, 70s, and it describes how people get emotionally attached to motorcycles, computers, music instruments. And I love my Surface, I really do. But the thought of me doing a job, either within my bank or when I need to switch around, instead of swapping devices, you simply just click on the Windows multi-tab version and you just swap scenario. It's done in seconds. I also think that's an important part from sustainability perspective. One device, multiple personas. But we're talking a lot about NPUs in the physical hardware world now. We're talking about AI NPUs, but there's still a huge shift when it comes to data centers. And you mentioned here, Femi, that you're responsible for the NPU part in the data centers. the GPU, sorry,
Yes.
the GPU part in the data center.
Yes.
So how is the transitioning for GPU-powered virtual machines?
So, Microsoft has been a leader in kind of, GPUs and NPUs in general. And for Windows 365 specifically, we launched GPU cloud PCs. That was in August of last year. And what we really wanted to meet, because we wanted to, there are a couple of customers that had the traditional CPUs and they were looking to do a kind of heavy compute analysis and kind of a lot of compute reasoning. So we kind of, one of the feedback was that, we want to be able to have, a system where we can do a lot of more compute heavy workloads. So we introduced Windows 365 GPU last August. Like I said, it's mainly for kind of the graphics intensive field workload. So for example, if you're doing 3D modeling, you're doing things like image and video rendering, right? You're doing things like data and virtual processing. That's what we kind of introduced last August. And we kind of, and this basically, these SKUs are powered by both NVIDIA and AMD, based on the Azure VM series. We kind of ensure that we work with our NVIDIA and AMD partners to ensure that we are providing the best experience on a GPU. But basically, most of our customers we've seen are customers that want to focus on high, heavy, intensive workload, and that maybe their traditional enterprise, cloud PC cannot meet, but GPU can kind of fulfill those requests. And we kind of have three offerings we provide for the standard, super, and mask, and I can get into details of what the config is for those. But that's kind of what we've seen in terms of helping customer on board to kind of the GPU offering, and also to help them support heavy compute workloads that they have.
And that's a really good scenario. You're describing something interesting there, both CAD, 3D, video rendering. I once worked with a customer who wanted to standardize their laptop platform because they had some heavy users CAD. But it was so hard to manage and deploy Windows 10 on a Xeon laptop. So standardizing on just a very low power, low performing laptop while still be able to do their work by booting up an external services in Azure. Do you see a lot of use cases where the companies would like to standardize their device fleet while still enabling their workload in the cloud? Or is it they would like the benefit of both having high performance locally and in the cloud? Which are the scenarios?
Interesting. I think we see a mix of both, but mostly in the cloud. I think the traditional things for our customers we've seen is that some customers, just because of certain reasons, they want to have some workloads on-prem, be able to kind of do this compute. But for me, in general, most of our customers, they understand that the future is the cloud, and that's the way forward. So most of them are having to, once we kind of explain and kind of talk about the value of what the cloud provides, right? Seamless computing and kind of controls kind of your whole echo infrastructure system. So most of them kind of get it, like cloud is the way forward. But we still have some customers that are traditionally kind of used to kind of their resources being on-prem and focused on that. But the move has been towards the cloud, and that's what Windows 365 does. It kind of gives you the seamless experience in the cloud, and just traditional way you kind of have your access to your SharePoint files, or have access to your Office file. That kind of shift has been very helpful. So we've seen a little of both, but most of our customers, once we kind of talked about Windows 365 offers, they've been able to kind of understand the value of the cloud. And what we also, like all I'd mentioned, is the simplicity of it and the SaaS, right? It's basically, it's a model where you don't have to worry about kind of the core infrastructure, because we take care of that for you. You just have to worry about buying a license, provisioning your cloud PC, and the rest is kind of taken care of by our product team in terms of your experience and kind of whatever updates you want to do to your cloud PCs.
What is the typical scenario you see there, Ola? Is it like heavy duty on-premise and heavy duty in the cloud, or do you see that people would like to standardize on a more lightweight client and heavy duty, or do you see privileged access workstation that you would like to have air gap between systems?
I think if we're talking about the GPU part of this, I would say it's more about finding a more cost-efficient way to provide a device for maybe a consultant, not a full-time employee at this point, in how things looks in Sweden at least. That full-time employees still want their physical PC with a really fancy GPU and things like that, but those are quite expensive to buy. If I'm a consultant coming in for a 6-month project, getting that computer is really expensive. It's more cost efficient to buy that as a SaaS service. I buy a license for it for those 6 months, and then I'm out. So getting back to the backpack thing, that I don't need that big computer in my backpack, but also maybe giving people the possibility to have a more lightweight computer and running the services in the cloud to ease their workload, and maybe they don't need it at all times. They need it for a certain amount of time, but more like how Sweden looks right now is more the consultants scenario, or mergers and acquisition, but mostly consultant temporary workers, where we just need this for limited set of time, where it doesn't make sense to go buy something that's after those 6 months, everything in that computer is old, because NVIDIA released the next generation GPUs. So the value decreased really a lot on it, which makes the cloud part of this very nice, since then Microsoft takes care of all the backend, making sure that we have latest and greatest to some extent.
Yes. You mentioned merger acquisition.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, because at some point you need access from the old environment to the new, or the other way around. So in that sweet spot time, you don't want to bring them two laptops.
No.
So you're kind of giving them an air gap and a bridge in the old to the new, or vice versa. What I love with the Windows 365 is that although I have a Surface Laptop Studio, it has quite the firepower, good CPU, good GPU, it still creates heat. So there's a fan noise, it taxates the battery. So every time I want to produce a video with Camtasia recording or anything, just run that in the cloud so my laptop can enjoy enjoy the cool state of not burning the power. So, but we're talking about deployment, and you said that you launched the GPU SKUs in August, but you also launched some new regions.
Yes.
So where could we deploy all these stuff to?
Today we have about 23. I mean, it's on our Windows 365 docs page, but we have about up to 23 plus regions that we do deploy to today.
All right. So what are some of the new regions? Because Ola, you mentioned that compliance might be an issue for some customers. Before we started the recording, compliance is a high thing. So now it's available in Sweden.
Yes.
But are there any new locations there?
Yes, we launched in Japan West, and we also launched in Mexico Central. Those are the new regions we've recently launched along with Sweden.
Along Sweden. And that's super interesting, because if you are a global company, I know there's a lot of Swedish companies, not mentioning IKEA by name, have multiple countries they're investing in, and having their data center utilized so that you have a low, what we call low latency to the data center. Yeah. That's very important. What would you kind of round up with? What would be your mission here, Femi, if you were to tell the listeners, why should they go for Windows 365?
Sure. Just one more region, Spain Central. We use it on just Spain Central for customers looking looking at the Spain Europe as part of the European Union geography. Spain Central, customers looking to go there. You know, it's available now. I think what I want customers to really get about Windows 365 is that it's what we plan to do is to make your PC setup deployment seamless, right? And we want to ensure that what we offer is the value of the cloud and the value of simplicity, right? So what I want customers to get out of this is that, if you're using a traditional VDI environment, VDI workload, you should move to Windows 365, because we've seamless the experience. We made the experience better. We've made kind of you compute from the cloud much better. Like, everybody's moving to the cloud now, and not just saying it because everybody's doing it, but we are good at this, and Microsoft has been great at great company about the cloud and how to grow in the cloud. So you'll be missing if you don't join that journey. But yes, Windows 365 makes your CPC deployments, your PC deployment simple, and is the way of the future in terms of high powered or high usage of PC workloads.
Your two last cents here, Ola. Why should people go for Windows 365?
Now, I think I agree with Femi. It's the simplicity of it. That's usually what I push for, that simplicity and scalability. And we're kind of becoming device independent. We don't have to care about the device anymore.
What? It hurts. It hurts what you're telling me.
No, but I at some point in life realized I hate computers because there's always something breaking.
You take that back.
Yeah, I'll give you a sticker when we're done. No, but it's more like we kind of moving into somewhere where Windows is a service that we utilize. And we don't have to think about if it's a Surface or anything running Windows that we access it. We can run it from our phone, our iPad, our tablets, our TV, our car, or anything with a web browser, basically. Xbox is it's terrible to use it that way because it's really hard to access it using the Xbox controller, but you can do it. Since you can access it from a web browser. So I think that's kind of one of the major things I usually push for, that we don't have to care so much about the device anymore. We can provide you with Windows on some device of some form factor that you like, also giving you the possibility to extend the battery life of your device. If you're running from an iPad, for example, the battery life on an iPad is really good. Even though running Windows 365 on it, you get a really powerful device in a good format, for example. So I think the flexibility is what's really key, for me at least, and the use case and scalability, and especially simplicity for the admins to actually get going.
The power of Windows in the cloud, the flexibility of the device you love. I like it. Important. The device you love.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It was nice having you for the podcast. So thank you so much, and please enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you so much for listening